Did you know 92% of people who set goals at the beginning of the year fail after just a few weeks? So why is it that only a small percentage achieve extraordinary success while most give up halfway? In this video, I'm going to reveal the secret to setting goals the right way. Not just dreaming, but using a real tool that takes you from where you are to where you want to be. Understanding the importance of setting goals is the very foundation of personal growth, achievement, and fulfillment in life. Goals act as a compass. They give direction to our actions, clarity to our decisions, and purpose to our daily routines. Imagine going on a long journey without a map or any destination in mind. You would wander endlessly, using up energy, time, and resources, but without ever knowing if you were heading the right way. This is exactly what happens when people live without setting goals. They are constantly busy, constantly moving, but rarely progressing toward anything meaningful. Setting goals, therefore, is not simply about writing down dreams on paper. It is about creating a system that aligns your focus, channels your efforts, and motivates you to act with intention every single day. One of the key reasons goals are so important is that they sharpen focus. In a world full of distractions, from social media to endless entertainment options, our attention is constantly pulled in 100 different directions. Without a goal, it's easy to get lost in the noise. But with a clearly defined goal, distractions lose their grip, because you now have a clear reason to prioritize one activity over another. For example, a student preparing for a university entrance exam will find it easier to ignore late-night parties or endless scrolling online, because the goal of passing that exam becomes the guiding principle of their daily choices. Goals act as filters that help us say no to what does not serve us, and yes to what brings us closer to the results we want. Another profound benefit of setting goals is time management. Many people complain about not having enough time, but the real issue is often not the lack of time, it is the lack of direction. When you know exactly what you want to achieve, time becomes a resource you learn to allocate more wisely. Instead of drifting through the day, reacting to whatever comes up, you start proactively designing your schedule around what matters most. For instance, if your goal is to become healthier and fitter within 6 months, you will intentionally carve out time for exercise and meal planning. The simple act of having a defined goal transforms your perception of time from something that slips away into something you can master and utilize effectively. Goals also generate motivation, and this is one of their most powerful roles. Motivation is often thought of as something spontaneous that comes and goes, but in reality, it is closely linked to having meaningful objectives. When you wake up each morning with a purpose that excites you or challenges you, you feel a natural drive to act. Without goals, motivation tends to fade quickly, and people often feel stuck or uninspired. On the other hand, setting a goal, even a small one, creates anticipation and energy. The anticipation of completing a marathon, mastering a new skill, or achieving a financial milestone can be the spark that fuels consistent action over weeks and months. Equally important, goals provide a way to measure progress. Progress is one of the most satisfying feelings in life because it gives us evidence that our actions are meaningful and effective. When you set a goal to save $5,000 in a year, and by the third month you already have $200, you gain a sense of accomplishment and proof that your plan is working. This measurement not only boosts confidence but also reinforces the belief that bigger goals are achievable. Without goals, progress becomes invisible. You might be working hard, but without benchmarks or targets, you never truly know if you are moving forward or simply spinning your wheels. The difference between people who set goals and those who do not is often striking. People without goals tend to drift, letting circumstances dictate their lives. They may work hard, but their efforts are scattered, often benefiting others' visions instead of their own. They react to life rather than shape it. Meanwhile, those who set goals have a roadmap. Even if the road is not always smooth, they move through challenges with greater resilience because they know why they are enduring temporary difficulties. They live with a sense of agency, actively creating the future they want, rather than passively waiting for it to arrive. This difference explains why two individuals with the same resources, intelligence, and opportunities can end up in drastically different places after a few years. One is guided by clear goals, and the other is not. It's also worth noting that goals are not just about external achievements like money, titles, or recognition. They also shape internal growth, who you become in the process of pursuing them. Setting a goal to write a book, for example, will not only result in a finished manuscript but also in the development of discipline, creativity, and perseverance. A goal to run a marathon is not just about crossing the finish line. It is about building resilience, patience, and strength. In this way, goals serve a dual function. They help us achieve outcomes, but they also transform us along the journey. For many people, the idea of setting goals can feel overwhelming. They may wonder, what if I set the wrong goal? Or what if I fail? But the truth is, setting a goal is not about guaranteeing success. It is about giving yourself something meaningful to strive toward. Even if you do not fully reach the exact outcome you envisioned, the process of aiming for it will push you further than you would have gone without it. A person who sets out to lose 20 pounds and only loses 12 is still healthier and more disciplined than if they had never set the goal in the first place. Failure to hit a goal is not a failure of the individual. It is simply part of the feedback loop that helps refine future goals. Furthermore, goals bring alignment between values and actions. Too often, people claim they value health, family, or growth, yet their daily actions reflect otherwise. By setting specific goals tied to these values, individuals create consistency between what they care about and what they do. If you value family, you might set a goal of having a technology-free dinner with your loved ones 3 times a week. If you value growth, you might set a goal of reading 1 personal development book each month. This alignment brings satisfaction and peace of mind, because you are no longer living in contradiction between words and deeds. In conclusion, the importance of setting goals cannot be overstated. Goals provide focus, structure, motivation, and a sense of progress. They separate those who drift aimlessly from those who move intentionally toward their dreams. They help us manage time effectively, overcome distractions, and stay motivated through challenges. Most importantly, they shape who we become in the process of pursuing them. A life without goals is like a ship without a destination, always moving but never arriving. A life with goals, on the other hand, is a journey filled with meaning, direction, and growth. When discussing how to set goals effectively, one of the most critical steps is learning how to classify them into short-term and long-term categories. This distinction is not simply a matter of time. It is a way to structure your vision, break it down into manageable parts, and ensure that your daily actions align with the bigger picture of where you want to be in the future. Without this classification, goals can feel either too overwhelming because they are too big, or too insignificant because they lack a broader context. But when you understand how to balance short-term and long-term goals, you create a powerful framework that keeps you motivated today, while also steadily guiding you toward your ultimate aspirations. Short-term goals are often the stepping stones to larger ambitions. These are the objectives that can be achieved within days, weeks, or a few months. They are immediate, tangible, and often directly tied to daily habits. For example, if someone wants to improve their physical health, a short-term goal might be to exercise 3 times a week for the next month. If a student wants to improve academically, a short-term goal might be to complete all homework assignments on time for the next 2 weeks. The beauty of short-term goals lies in their ability to give us quick wins. Achieving them provides a sense of accomplishment that builds momentum, and this momentum is essential for tackling the more challenging and long-term objectives. Long-term goals, on the other hand, are the visions that require months or even years of consistent effort. These are the larger milestones, such as earning a degree, building a successful career, buying a home, or achieving financial independence. Because long-term goals take longer to accomplish, they can sometimes feel distant or abstract. Yet, they are the ones that give life structure and meaning. Imagine someone setting the long-term goal of becoming fluent in a foreign language. This goal cannot be achieved overnight. It requires years of practice, immersion, and study. But without setting this long-term intention, the person might never begin the smaller steps needed to reach fluency. The relationship between short-term and long-term goals is what truly makes this classification powerful. Short-term goals should be aligned with long-term objectives, acting as the bridge that connects today's actions with tomorrow's vision. For example, if a person has the long-term goal of running a marathon, the short-term goals might include running 3 kilometers a day, increasing weekly distance, improving diet, and participating in smaller races to build confidence. Each short-term success brings the person closer to the long-term achievement. Without these smaller goals, the marathon goal could feel intimidating and unattainable. but with them, the journey becomes manageable, structured, and motivating. One of the biggest mistakes people make is focusing too heavily on one type of goal at the expense of the other. Some people only set long-term goals, such as "I want to be rich" or "I want to be fit," but fail to create short-term steps. The result is procrastination, because the long-term dream feels too far away and overwhelming. Others only set short-term goals, like "I'll save $100 this month" or "I'll go jogging this week," but without tying them to a broader vision. They risk losing motivation because the goals feel too small or disconnected from anything meaningful. Success lies in balancing both types, having long-term goals to guide you and short-term goals to sustain you along the way. Another important aspect of goal classification is prioritization. Not all goals are equally important, and trying to chase too many at once can dilute focus and energy. By identifying which long-term goals matter most, whether in career, health, relationships, or personal growth, you can prioritize short-term actions that directly serve those areas. For instance, if your top long-term priority is career advancement, then your short-term goals might include attending a professional course, improving a specific skill, or networking with industry leaders. Without clear prioritization, you risk spreading yourself too thin, achieving little, and becoming frustrated. This classification system also helps in managing motivation cycles. Long-term goals provide vision and inspiration, reminding you why you are working so hard in the first place. They give your life direction and a sense of purpose. Short-term goals, meanwhile, provide immediate gratification and keep you engaged along the way. Human psychology thrives on rewards, and short-term achievements act as constant motivators that prevent burnout. For example, someone pursuing the long-term goal of publishing a book can stay motivated by celebrating short-term wins like completing a chapter, finishing a draft, or receiving positive feedback from a writing group. It's also worth noting that short-term and long-term goals must be realistic and flexible. Life is unpredictable and circumstances can change, requiring adjustments. A short-term goal may need to be revised if it proves too ambitious or too easy. Similarly, long-term goals may shift as values, priorities, or opportunities evolve. For instance, a person who once set a long-term goal of climbing the corporate ladder might later realize they value entrepreneurship more, and so their goals need realignment. Flexibility ensures that the classification of goals remains practical and supportive, rather than rigid and discouraging. An effective way to classify and align goals is to create a goal hierarchy or roadmap. At the top, you place your ultimate long-term goals, the big visions of your life. Beneath them, you list medium-term goals, which are milestones that bring you closer to the ultimate vision. And at the bottom, you detail the short-term goals, the daily or weekly actions you will take. This creates a clear pathway from today's choices to tomorrow's outcomes. For example, if your ultimate long-term goal is to achieve financial independence by age 40, your medium-term goals might include paying off debt within 3 years, investing consistently for the next decade, and increasing your income through career development. Your short-term goals could then involve setting a monthly budget, reducing unnecessary expenses, or reading one book about investing each quarter. This layered approach ensures that every action is connected to something bigger. Classifying goals also helps in managing setbacks. When pursuing long-term goals, setbacks are inevitable, whether it's failing a test, losing a client, or facing unexpected life events. Without short-term goals, these setbacks can feel like catastrophic failures. But with short-term milestones, setbacks become easier to navigate because you can measure progress in smaller increments. For instance, if your long-term goal of losing 20 pounds stalls, you can still find encouragement in the short-term success of exercising regularly or improving your diet. These smaller wins remind you that you are on the right path, even if the ultimate goal takes longer than expected. In conclusion, learning to classify goals into short-term and long-term categories is essential for creating balance, structure, and sustained motivation. Short-term goals keep you moving day by day, providing quick wins and reinforcing habits, while long-term goals give you a sense of direction and purpose. When aligned properly, they work together like gears in a machine, ensuring that your daily actions are directly contributing to your ultimate vision. Without classification, goals risk becoming overwhelming or meaningless. But with it, You gain clarity, momentum, and confidence on the journey toward becoming the person you want to be. One of the most effective and widely adopted frameworks for setting goals is the SMART method. The word SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Each of these components addresses a common weakness people face when setting goals, and together, they provide a structure that transforms vague ambitions into actionable plans. While the concept may seem simple at first glance, applying it with depth and consistency can be the difference between goals that remain dreams and goals that turn into real accomplishments. The first component of SMART is specific. A goal must be clear and well-defined, not abstract or ambiguous. Too often, people set goals like, "I want to be healthier," or "I want to be successful." But these are so broad that they provide no direction. A specific goal identifies exactly what you want to achieve. For instance, instead of saying, "I want to be healthier," you might say, "I want to run 3 kilometers without stopping." Instead of, "I want to be successful," you might state, "I want to increase my sales revenue by 20% this quarter." Specificity removes confusion, sharpens focus, and gives your brain a clear target to work toward. The second component is measurable. What cannot be measured cannot be managed. Measurement provides a way to track progress and determine whether or not you are moving in the right direction. A measurable goal includes criteria that let you evaluate your success objectively. For example, if your goal is to save money, a measurable version would be, "I will save $500 each month for the next 6 months." This allows you to check your progress at the end of each month. If your goal is to lose weight, a measurable version would be, "I want to lose 5 kilograms in 2 months." With this structure, you can track weekly weigh-ins and adjust if necessary. Measurement transforms vague hopes into concrete benchmarks, and those benchmarks become motivators as you see yourself moving closer to your target. Next is achievable, which emphasizes the importance of realism. Setting goals that are too far out of reach can lead to frustration and eventual abandonment. At the same time, goals should not be so easy that they fail to inspire effort or growth. Achievability is about finding the balance between ambition and practicality. For example, if someone has never exercised before, setting a goal to run a marathon in 1 month is not achievable. It will likely end in injury or discouragement. A more achievable goal would be to jog 2 kilometers 3 times per week for 1 month. Once that is accomplished, the next step could be increasing the distance gradually. The principle of achievability ensures that goals are challenging enough to be meaningful, yet realistic enough to be attainable with consistent effort. The fourth component is relevant. A goal should align with your broader values, priorities, and long-term objectives. Sometimes people set goals based on external pressure or fleeting desires, only to realize later that these goals do not truly matter to them. Relevance is about asking, "Why does this goal matter to me? And how does it contribute to my bigger picture?" For example, if your long-term vision is to build a career in digital marketing, then setting a short-term goal of completing a certification course in social media advertising is highly relevant. On the other hand, setting a goal to learn a skill unrelated to your path, like mastering a musical instrument if you have no passion for it, might drain your energy without contributing to your larger purpose. Relevance ensures that your goals are not just random tasks, but meaningful steps toward the life you want. Finally, the time-bound component emphasizes deadlines. A goal without a time frame is merely a wish. Deadlines create urgency and prevent procrastination. For instance, saying, "I want to write a book someday," is vague and non-committal, while "I will finish the first draft of my book within 6 months" creates a specific timeline. Deadlines not only provide structure, but also break down larger goals into time-sensitive actions. If your deadline is 6 months, you can plan to write 1 chapter per month or set aside a certain number of hours each week. Having a clear endpoint also allows you to evaluate progress at regular intervals and make adjustments along the way. When all 5 components of SMART are combined, goals become powerful tools for transformation. Take the common ambition of getting fit. On its own, it is too vague to inspire consistent action, but reframed as a SMART goal, it could look like this. I will jog 3 kilometers 3 times per week and lose 5 kilograms within 3 months by maintaining a balanced diet and tracking my progress weekly. This goal is specific, jogging, diet, and weight loss; measurable, 3 kilometers 5 kilograms; achievable, realistic for many people; relevant, aligned with health priorities, and time-bound, within 3 months. The clarity of this SMART goal makes it far more actionable than the original vague statement. SMART goals also provide a framework for problem-solving when things don't go as planned. For example, if you fall behind schedule, the measurable and time-bound aspects allow you to identify the gap quickly and make adjustments. If you find that a goal feels too difficult, you can revisit the achievable component to recalibrate expectations. If motivation fades, reflecting on the relevance component can reignite your sense of purpose. This adaptability ensures that SMART goals remain useful tools, not rigid obligations that discourage progress. Another advantage of SMART goals is that they are universally applicable. Whether you are a student, professional, entrepreneur, or parent, the framework can be tailored to any context. A student might use SMART goals to improve grades by setting a target of studying 2 hours daily for a specific subject over the next 8 weeks. A business professional might set a goal to close 5 new client contracts in the next quarter. An individual focused on personal growth might commit to reading 12 books in a year by finishing 1 per month. The universality of SMART makes it a reliable tool in virtually every aspect of life. However, the SMART method is not just about external achievements. It also strengthens internal qualities like discipline, consistency, and self-awareness. Each time you set and achieve a SMART goal, you reinforce your ability to commit, follow through, and learn from the process. Even if you don't fully achieve the intended outcome, the framework ensures that you make measurable progress, which is far more valuable than drifting without direction. Over time, practicing SMART goal setting transforms your mindset from one of wishful thinking to one of intentional action. In conclusion, the SMART method provides a structured, practical, and effective way to set goals that stick by ensuring that every goal is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You give yourself the clarity and accountability needed to succeed. Goals framed through this lens are not just statements of desire. They are detailed roadmaps that guide action, track progress, and inspire consistency. Without SMART, goals often remain vague and unattainable. With it, they become powerful tools for growth, achievement, and transformation in every area of life. Once goals have been defined and structured, the next crucial step is to create a detailed action plan. A goal without a plan is like a destination without a map. You may know where you want to go, but you have no clear path to get there. An action plan turns intention into movement, breaking down a goal into smaller, manageable steps that can be executed consistently over time. Without this process, even the most inspiring goals can remain abstract ideas, never moving beyond the realm of thought. With a detailed action plan, however, goals become tangible, and the journey toward them becomes less overwhelming, more organized, and ultimately more achievable. The first step in building an action plan is to break down the goal into smaller tasks. Human psychology thrives on clarity and progress. When a goal is too large or abstract, it can feel intimidating, leading to procrastination or avoidance. By dividing the goal into smaller components, the brain perceives them as more doable, reducing resistance and increasing motivation. For instance, if your long-term goal is to read 12 books in a year, the action plan could involve reading 1 book each month. From there, you might further divide it into reading 10-15 pages per day. Each small action builds momentum, and over time, these micro steps accumulate into the fulfillment of the larger vision. A detailed action plan also requires prioritization. Not all tasks are equally important, and without prioritizing, it's easy to get caught up in busy work that feels productive but doesn't move you closer to your goal. The key is to identify the most critical actions, the ones that have the greatest impact, and focus on them first. For example, someone aiming to launch an online business might be tempted to spend hours perfecting a website logo, but the more impactful actions are likely researching target markets, developing products, and setting up sales channels. By focusing on high-priority tasks, you maximize progress and prevent wasted effort. Another vital element of action planning is creating deadlines. A timeline transforms tasks from vague intentions into commitments. Deadlines generate urgency and accountability, ensuring that you act rather than delay. For example, instead of saying, "I will start writing my book soon," you might decide, "I will write 500 words every day and complete the first draft in 4 months." The daily target of 500 words is a small, Specific action, while the 4-month deadline gives structure to the larger task. Deadlines not only create discipline, but also give you checkpoints to measure progress and make necessary adjustments. Tools and systems play a key role in supporting your action plan. In today's digital world, there are countless apps and tools for task management, habit tracking, and time organization. To-do lists, planners, calendars, and apps like Trello, Notion, or Todoist can help break goals into daily, weekly, and monthly actions. For example, if your goal is to save money, you could use a budgeting app to track expenses and automate savings transfers. If your goal is fitness-related, a workout app could provide structure and reminders. These tools externalize your plan, making it easier to stick to routines and monitor progress. Consistency is perhaps the most underrated element of an action plan. Even small actions, when repeated consistently, create exponential results. A person who reads just 10 pages per day may not notice immediate progress, but over a year, they will have read more than 3,500 pages, the equivalent of around 12 to 15 books. Similarly, someone who saves just $5 per day will accumulate over $1,800 in a year. The compounding effect of consistent action is profound, and an action plan ensures that you show up daily, even when motivation fluctuates. Accountability is another strategy that strengthens an action plan. Sharing your goals and progress with others creates external motivation to stay on track. For instance, joining a study group, hiring a coach, or simply telling a trusted friend about your plan adds a layer of responsibility. When others are aware of your commitments, you are less likely to quit because you don't want to disappoint them or yourself. Accountability can also provide encouragement during moments of doubt, as others can remind you of your progress and push you to keep going. An action plan should also include methods for tracking progress. Tracking allows you to see how far you've come, which is essential for motivation and course correction. For example, if your goal is to lose weight, tracking weekly weigh-ins and noting changes in diet and exercise can highlight trends and show results, even if they are gradual. If your goal is to learn a new language, keeping a journal of new words learned each week provides visible evidence of growth. Tracking transforms effort into measurable results, which reinforces commitment and makes the journey more rewarding. Flexibility is equally important in an action plan. Life is unpredictable, and rigid plans often collapse under unexpected circumstances. Flexibility does not mean abandoning goals. It means being willing to adjust the plan while keeping the destination in sight. For example, if you plan to exercise outdoors 3 times per week but bad weather prevents it, flexibility might mean switching to indoor workouts. If you aim to save $500 per month but faced unexpected expenses, adjusting to $300 for that month keeps progress alive without giving up entirely. Flexibility ensures resilience, preventing temporary setbacks from derailing long-term success. It's also essential to celebrate small wins along the way. The journey toward big goals can be long and tiring, and without moments of recognition, motivation can fade. By rewarding yourself for reaching milestones, you maintain enthusiasm and reinforce positive behavior. For example, finishing a month of consistent workouts could be celebrated with a relaxing massage, or completing a major work project could be rewarded with a short getaway. These celebrations don't have to be extravagant. They just need to provide joy and recognition for your effort. Ultimately, a detailed action plan bridges the gap between dreams and reality. It transforms goals from abstract statements into clear, practical steps that can be executed daily. Without a plan, goals often remain in the realm of someday. With a plan, they become actionable, measurable, and achievable. The process of breaking down goals, setting priorities, creating deadlines, using tools, maintaining consistency, tracking progress, and staying flexible creates a roadmap that leads to real results. Success, after all, is rarely the product of one big action. It is the accumulation of small, consistent steps taken with intention. In conclusion, creating a detailed action plan is not just a practical exercise, it is a psychological strategy that reduces overwhelm, increases motivation, and builds momentum. It provides structure, accountability, and clarity, ensuring that every day counts toward your bigger vision. The difference between those who achieve their goals and those who do not is often not talent or luck, but whether they had a clear plan and followed it consistently. With a well-structured action plan, even the most ambitious goals become achievable step by step. Once goals are set and an action plan is in place, the next challenge is learning how to maintain motivation and adjust goals along the way. Setting goals is often the easy part. What truly matters is sustaining the effort required to achieve them. Many people start their journey with enthusiasm, only to find themselves losing energy weeks or months later. This loss of momentum is natural, but it does not mean that the goal is impossible. The key lies in strategies to keep motivation alive and the willingness to adapt goals when circumstances demand flexibility. 1. Of the most important ways to maintain motivation is to reconnect with the why behind the goal. Every goal must have a deeper reason for existing, something that ties it to personal values, desires, or vision for the future. For instance, if your goal is to get fit, the why might be to improve your health so you can spend more quality time with your family, or to boost confidence in yourself. By regularly reminding yourself of this deeper purpose, you keep motivation alive even when the daily grind feels repetitive or challenging. Without a clear why, goals can feel hollow and motivation fades quickly. Another method to sustain motivation is to celebrate small milestones. Progress is a powerful motivator because it provides evidence that your efforts are paying off. Big goals can take months or years to achieve, and without interim rewards, it is easy to lose patience. For example, someone saving for a house down payment might celebrate every $5,000 saved with a small treat. A student working toward graduation might celebrate finishing each semester with a personal reward. These celebrations act as checkpoints, renewing energy and reminding you that success is being built step by step. It is also essential to build routines and habits around your goals. Motivation is naturally inconsistent. It rises when excitement is high and falls when obstacles appear. Habits, however, create consistency regardless of fluctuating emotions. For example, if your goal is to write a book, developing a daily writing habit, even just 30 minutes a day, ensures that progress continues even on days when you don't feel particularly inspired. Habits reduce the reliance on willpower by making progress automatic. Over time, the habit itself becomes rewarding, as the brain associates it with accomplishment and satisfaction. Accountability is another powerful motivator. When you share your goals with others, whether it is a coach, a friend, a mentor, or an online community, you create a sense of responsibility that goes beyond yourself. Knowing that someone else is aware of your commitments can push you to take action on days when you feel like giving up. Accountability partners can also provide encouragement, constructive feedback, and reminders of why you started. This social element turns what might feel like a solitary struggle into a shared journey, making it harder to quit when motivation dips. Despite all efforts, there will always be moments of setback and discouragement. When these occur, it is crucial to reframe setbacks as learning opportunities rather than failures. For example, if your goal was to stick to a workout routine but you missed a week, instead of abandoning the plan entirely, you can ask, "What caused me to slip and how can I prevent it next time?" This reflective approach builds resilience and prevents temporary obstacles from becoming permanent roadblocks. Failure, in this sense, is not the opposite of success, it is part of the process toward success. Adjusting goals is equally important because life is rarely predictable. Circumstances change, jobs shift, family responsibilities evolve, economic conditions fluctuate, and personal interests develop. A rigid goal that no longer fits your life can become more of a burden than a source of motivation. For example, if you set a goal to run a marathon but later develop an injury, clinging to the original goal may cause harm. Adjusting it to focus on swimming or cycling keeps the spirit of fitness alive while respecting new limitations. Similarly, if you aim to save a certain amount of money but faced unexpected expenses, reducing the target temporarily is better than abandoning the savings habit altogether. Adjustments keep goals realistic, relevant, and achievable in changing conditions. Flexibility does not mean a lack of discipline, it means being adaptable. Goals should be like a compass, not a cage. They should guide you toward the right direction but allow room for course correction when necessary. This adaptability ensures that your goals remain aligned with your current values and circumstances. For instance, someone who once had the long-term goal of climbing the corporate ladder might later realize they value entrepreneurship or work-life balance more. Adjusting the goal to reflect this shift allows for a more fulfilling pursuit. Another important factor in sustaining motivation is surrounding yourself with the right environment. Your surroundings, both people and places, have a massive impact on your energy and determination. A supportive environment reinforces positive habits, while a toxic one can drain motivation. For example, joining a community of people who share similar goals, such as a fitness group or professional network, can provide inspiration and accountability. Likewise, designing your physical environment to support your goals, keeping healthy food in the house, setting up a dedicated study space, or removing distractions makes it easier to stay on track. Visualization and affirmations are psychological tools that also play a role in maintaining motivation. Visualization involves imagining yourself achieving the goal and experiencing the emotions associated with success. Athletes often use this technique to prepare for competitions, but it can be applied to any goal. By mentally rehearsing success, the brain creates a sense of familiarity, making it easier to believe that the goal is achievable. Affirmations, on the other hand, involve repeating positive statements that reinforce confidence and focus. For example, saying, "I am disciplined and capable of completing my goals daily," can gradually reprogram self-doubt into determination. In the end, maintaining motivation and adjusting goals is about balance, the discipline to stay consistent, and the wisdom to adapt when necessary. Goals are not meant to imprison us. They are meant to inspire and direct us. By celebrating milestones, building habits, creating accountability, reframing setbacks, and adjusting as life changes, you ensure that your goals remain sources of growth rather than stress. The journey toward achievement is rarely straight, but with resilience and flexibility, it is always forward. In conclusion, setting goals is only the beginning. The real challenge lies in maintaining the drive to pursue them and having the courage to adjust them when circumstances demand. Motivation can be fueled by reconnecting with your purpose, celebrating small wins, and embedding habits into daily life. Accountability, supportive environments, and psychological tools like visualization further strengthen commitment. At the same time, adaptability ensures that goals remain realistic and meaningful over time. By mastering both motivation and flexibility, you not only achieve more, but also grow stronger, wiser, and more fulfilled through the process. Now you know how to set goals not just to dream, but to actually make them a reality. But I want to hear from you. What's your biggest goal this year? Share it in the comments below. Your answer might inspire someone else. And don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because the next videos will bring you even more strategies to break through and achieve every goal you set.